Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Cabinet meeting being held the 8th of September 2025. Can I start just by welcoming new officer to the Council, Dom McCullum, our new Section 151 officer. Welcome to this meeting and to the Council. And secondly, if we can just move to apologies for absence. So I think we have apologies from Councillor Ringer, Councillor Brown, and who else are we missing? Councillor Barnett. Sorry. Yes. John Toys, I think at another meeting. Yeah. Okay. So a few apologies there. The minutes of the meeting held the 7th of July. Were there any questions on the contents of the minutes? No? Okay. Well, if not, I propose them to be accepted, and that is seconded by Councillor Shires. Can I just have a quick vote of those all in favour, please? Is that unanimous? Yeah. Thank you. We have no public questions submitted. Are there any declarations of interested items on the agenda, please? No. We have no items of urgent business. And item 6 is member questions. Were there any questions at this stage from any members in the room? Okay. I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've got any recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So that's item 7. So we move then to item 8, which is reporting progress implementing corporate plan and action plan. And action plan over 2 years there. So first thing to say here in respect of the corporate plan as a whole and meeting targets is in respect of the impacts, of course, again about over reorganisation and the deprioritisation of some targets and initiatives that do not have longevity nor can be seen as a high priority against or above others where we have had to create additional time and capacity. And as with every other council, we will not be able to achieve all of the targets we intended or set out to. And others may be achieved in a different way to that originally envisaged or indeed delayed to a later date. So that's certainly not just us, that's many other councils as well. And in respect of the last financial year, many of our targets are, of course, ongoing and span multiple years. But happy that this year's annual action plan information can be taken as read, with the exception of point 25 on the devolution LGR. You're aware now that the meeting will take place at a later date, the 24th, due to reasons outlined at the time, but this was certainly correct at that time. I think I'll stop there. Were there any questions on the corporate plan and action plan delivery? Thank you. Councillor Holiday, go ahead.
I'm just comparing 435, item 10, which is communities, supporting our communities, which communities. Then if you look into this year's action plan, item number 8, but our number is exactly almost identical.
Sorry, I did have a bit of trouble hearing what you were saying. I think you were talking about.
Sorry, my mic was about 300 miles away. That's why. Apologies for that.
You're near to it.
So page 22, we've got item 10, which is with external partners, et cetera, which we completed. This is in communities and health. And then for this year's plan, item number 8, we've got almost an identical action, but it's in progress and it's amber. But we completed it last year, but it's in amber this year. Is that?
Go ahead.
because it's not a discrete project, but it's a sequential ongoing work that we succeeded last year, but not this year.
So this refers to the changes with the Integrated Care Board and the changes that are taking place at a national level and regional level in terms of the ICBs. So the Norfolk and Waveney ICB is going to be incorporated into a wider Norfolk and Suffolk Integrated Care Partnership. And so alongside local government reorganisation, there is also consideration being given to an area structure below the Norfolk and Suffolk ICB. And so those health and wellbeing partnership arrangements are evolving. And so we thought it was appropriate to place that as an amber in that it's not on a solid as platform. There's significant change in that space and the amber reflects that.
So certainly some uncertainty in that area. And I suppose just to highlight a few others, obviously, it's worth highlighting point 7 in respect of neighbourhood plans. Clearly the situation has changed. This will, be reflected likely in future reports because of course this these are a moment in time, they look back. But the former Deputy Prime Minister previously removed the funding for that work. So we'll need to review that item going forward. Clearly, there are a few parish councils that have got work in train, so we'll obviously look at that, but it might affect work coming forward and briefings have been changed. There are, I suppose, 1 or 2 other updates I could give in respect of point 21 and discussions on access to cash. Discussions have also taken place with the remaining High Street Bank branch provider. I can name them nationwide in respect of ATM availability and serviceability in Fakenham and Sheringham respectively. And work is clearly progressing at some pace now to secure these permanent locations in Holt, Cromer and North Walsham. Also some works for the County Council with the discussions that they are having over access to cash as well internally. On point 26, we've got the slippage there in terms of meeting some of the outcomes, but just to be aware that the workforce strategy, which that alludes to, is coming to overview and scrutiny in October. And to expand on point 30, which really a lot of the work recently has focused on rent reviews towards meeting that target. So that's a point where we've got quite a lot of work at the moment. Just trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to highlight. Well, I mean, just generally, some good work around. We've secured funding for the outdoor learning facilities at Holt Country Park, and I believe that work's just starting to kick in now. And obviously relevant today, we've got the discussions on Fakenham Leisure Centre and recycling, which are also a feature of the action plan. Was there anything else anyone wanted to highlight? Okay. If not, then propose we note. Sorry, I'm struggling to get my laptop working. There we go, sorry. Okay, so we've commented on the report. So the next item, item 9, is budget monitoring for period 4. Councillor Shires, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome, Don. I'm very happy to see you here today. So I'll begin by thanking Officers King and Sly for the work that they've done alongside me in bringing this report and obviously supporting us through the first 4 months of the current budget. So as it stands today, and we know that this will vary throughout the year, this is not our first budget. We're currently looking at a small surplus projected for the end of this financial year. That's the current situation we are in period 4. We've got a further 2 budget monitoring periods to go through this year. The information is in the report. It's a very, very well detailed report. So I'm happy to take any questions. Recommendations B and C on the front page of the report are just the movement of money from one project to another. We're not asking for more money. We're just moving the lines around a little bit. And obviously we've got the Treasury Management update in the back. I've got nothing significant to add, although this is the first showing of this report. It's not been through overview and scrutiny yet. So you've got first dibs on it as a cabinet.
Thank you very much. Okay, were there any questions from anyone? Clarification? No. Okay, if not, then so we are to note the report and approve items B, C, which will require a vote, I believe. So is that proposed and seconded by Councillor Fredericks, and all of those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 10 is the extension of processing of commingled recyclables. So Councillor Ringer, who is obviously not present, has left me with something to introduce this item. So North Norfolk District Council remains committed to providing residents and businesses with a reliable and cost-effective recycling service, while the facility at Cossey will ultimately require replacement or significant upgrading in order to meet higher recycling capabilities, including the processing of soft plastics. It is essential in the short term to ensure that the existing facility continues to meet the needs of North Norfolk and the wider county. Extending the current contract provides stability through the local government reorganisation process, protects residents from disruption, and positions successor councils with a sound footing with which to invest appropriately in the future. So the recommendations from the options that have been set out are set out there on the front page of this item, with recommendations 1 and 2, which outline extending the contract through to 2013 and extending the scope of services. So I will propose both of those items, but just pause there to see if we've got any questions on this item at all. It's obviously something that we need to provide. We couldn't do without this service, so ceasing it obviously is not an option. But there could be other ways of doing things. But this seems like the most advantageous and realistic way of moving forward. Okay, so did you want to second, Councillor Fred? You didn't want to second this?
I was happy to second if you wanted me to.
Yeah, please do, if that's okay. Okay, can I take a vote of all those in favour of the recommendations, please? Thank you, that's unanimous. Item 11 is the provision of kitchen caddy liners to support food waste service rollout. Similarly, Councillor Ringer has left me with a statement to read in his absence. In supporting the rollout of food waste collection of the food waste collection service, I believe it's sensible that the council proceeds with option 1, providing each household with a single starter pack caddy liners at launch. This will give residents the tools to adapt to the new service whilst limiting the council's ongoing financial commitment. Importantly, this approach will not be fixed indefinitely. I propose that participation and usage are reviewed as the service beds in, so the Cabinet can consider the provision of further roles in future years if there is clear evidence that this would support sustained take-up and reduce contamination. I've also requested that officers ensure that local retailers are informed in advance of the forthcoming changes so that they are adequately prepared and sufficiently stocked to meet the resident demand for replacement liners. So Councillor Ringer highlights the strengths of that option there, option one, and seeing how this goes, monitoring it. We obviously keep an open mind in terms of the impact this has on involvement with food waste by residents and ensuring essentially reducing contamination. This is why caddy liners are there. It's also worth mentioning these are essentially bioplastics. I think that's the correct term. So they are friendly to the system, as it were. It's biodegradable in the system. That said, plastic can be removed during the processing for those that do end up using plastic caddy liners. Just so you know how that process will work. Were there any questions in respect of this item? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think we said, looking at that, it is very much option 1 and option 3. So we are informing our residents and advising on the lines they can use. So I think definitely option 1 and maybe to put option 3 together would be a good idea if we can.
Well, it will be essentially it could be a mix of all of these, couldn't it? Depending on how this goes. Just because other councils have had one experience doesn't necessarily mean our experience will be shared or similar. So we're obviously collecting over a large rural geography, and this is obviously a new thing for many residents, which is where the strengths of option 1 come in, around providing a starter. And studies have shown that compliance level and involvement with food waste collections is benefited by the provision of caddy liners, but it's not shown that ongoing supply necessarily is contributing to ongoing performance levels. So that said, it might become clear either through contamination or drop-off rates in terms of the numbers of people involved that we need to keep an open mind. So we'll obviously bring a report back likely to business planning in the interim some point in that time period to see how it's going. And obviously we'll be very interested to see, and we've got some of the trials, I think it's North Walsham, isn't it? Around food waste and vehicles, etc. So there's a lot of logistical and infrastructure considerations. Councillor Withington, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I did mention this at our previous pre-cabinet meeting, but I think it's worth reiterating again that there's a big opportunity here for helping to educate people, because we are offering, the service will be removing packaging in the plastic wraparounds in the process. And I think it's important we get the message out, because people are spending a lot of additional money on purchasing biodegradable, which is only be biodegradable when it's in appropriate composting facilities at a high enough temperature. So I think it's worthwhile. That supports our message of getting plastics into recycling where they're at least used again, whereas the biodegradable sometimes isn't happening. It isn't happening what people are thinking happening.
Sure.
So I think it's a good opportunity for us to highlight that message across the district as well.
Yeah. And there will of course be a communications plan alongside this work, probably on an ongoing basis, to be honest, to help with the compliance and involvement levels. Okay. Also, thank you to officers for the extensive work and consideration in respect of this and the previous item. Some external partners involved as well. So grateful to everyone. So I propose then that we run with option 1, which is to provide the starter kit of caddy liners, 26 bags per household. Seconded by councillor Whittington, and all those in favour, please. Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Item 12 is the endorsement of the updated joint Norfolk strategic planning framework. And in councillor Brown's absence, he has left me something to say for him. It's only one side of A4. Firstly, I need to flag up the importance of supporting this Norfolk Joint Strategic Framework report as a vital component to continue the progression of our emerging local plan through the final section of its journey, and to ensure adoption as early as November, or if not, then by the end of the year. By the end of the year, it will have taken all of 2.5 years to adopt it since we voted as a council to submit for approval back in April 2023. Secondly, if we do not support this report, then our emerging local plan is at risk of not satisfying the planning inspector's test of soundness and legal compliance with our statutory obligations. The inspector could, in theory and in practice, several plan making councils have experienced failure to get plans adopted for this reason. So they could decide that our plan fails on this issue, or i.e. the failure to meet our duty to cooperate with neighbouring authorities imposed by the Localism Act 2011. As our cabinet representative on the Norfolk Strategic Planning Forum, when each district council meets to discuss issues affecting all areas of the county, I approved this report at a meeting in May of this year in conjunction with all other member authorities. May I also remind Cabinet of the importance of moving to a new plan as soon as possible, given the age of our current plan previously adopted in 2008, which is now showing the symptoms of degeneration due to many changes in planning regulations and national planning policy frameworks since the early 2000s. So without a plan, we remain vulnerable to failing to deliver a 5-year land supply and to make decisions at planning committee which are based on contemporary planning requirements. Failure would also enable speculators to apply to develop undesirable and potentially inappropriate locations, which is the antithesis of our corporate plan objectives. So we've obviously got the recommendation there over the 2 points, the endorsement of the Norfolk Strategic Planning Framework and the provision of delegated authority, and I will propose both of those. Were there any questions on this item from around the room, please? Okay. Can I have someone to say? Councillor Fredericks, yeah, got that first. Thank you. All of those in favour, please. That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 13 is the item on Japanese knotweed at Overstrand Cliffs. Can I pass over to Councillor Blathwaite? Thank you.
Yes, this is a full report. I thank the officers and Haskoning for putting it all together. We have no choice in this. This is a statutory duty, and I recommend it to the Cabinet. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the extensive work and consideration by officers. It's not a straightforward thing to do both the work that we've done in the lead up, but it certainly won't be straightforward work actually doing the treatment of the Japanese knotweed, given its location, the geography, the crumbling cliff, etc. We know we've got a statutory responsibility to prevent the spread of the Japanese knotweed, and also we think it's contributing to the erosion of the cliff slope. It's obviously not a plant that will hold the cliff together over the winter months, etc., or contribute to that anyway. So clearly this isn't an experience that's widely shared, but there are other authorities that have had to do similar work. I believe Cornwall and Dorset. I've picked up a few examples. In terms of the methodology, obviously there are a few options that are safely available to us in these circumstances at present time. Unusual step, I suppose, in terms of using that. It looks like there's some innovative methods being considered as well, isn't there, in terms of the potential trials of drone technology. And it's not unusual for this team to innovate and find all sorts of new ways of doing things. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to say that the lessons learned from this will be used nationally and probably internationally. So it is good, innovative work.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've got the recommendations which are set out over 7 points. Which are you okay to propose, Harry? Is that okay?
Yeah, I would propose all 7 as one. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. Were there any further questions on this item at all? If not, then I will second the 7 recommendations, and can we take a vote of all of those in favour and endorsing this, please? Thank you. That's unanimous. That's great. Okay, item 14 is the Fakenham Leisure and Sports Hub project. Just before we get into this item, note there is an exempt appendix which, should you wish to discuss in any detail, we will need to close the meeting and deal with that in closed session. So just to be aware of that, and that's just contractual commercial confidentiality issues. So nothing unusual there. Can I also start by welcoming the ongoing work and welcoming yourself, sir? And I do apologise, I haven't been given your name. So Chris Harms. Yeah.
Chris Ames, my last question.
Thank you. Yep. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us this morning for this item in discussion. So I don't know if there's anything you want to say.
Just very briefly, I'd like to welcome Chris into the chamber, and we've got Erica here as well, who's project lead. So and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank both people for all the work that they've done in supporting that, and the officers as well, particularly the design and development teams who have stuck with us during the initial stages, which were a little bit testy at times with waiting for government funding and news, etc. But we're now at a really exciting stage of the project where it's all starting to come together. So I will hand over to Steve and let you lead on this then, as to outlining where we're at and what we need to do.
I'm happy to do so, and good morning, members. I think, put very simply, this is, as Councillor Withington has said, this has been an ongoing process since July 2022, when full council agreed to submit the bid to government. There have been further reports in 2023 and 24 to agree to proceed with the project, following the receipt of confirmation from government of the levelling up funding. And in one of those, in the final report, in the 24 report, effectively there was a gate point built into the decision-making process, which was on the receipt of the prices back from the contractor, that before the award of contract was made, it came back for a decision as to whether to proceed or not. And I think the purpose of that is fundamentally to make sure that we were within the budget envelope that had been set. So this report effectively sets out the progress that we've made, but also seeks that authority to proceed with the award of contract. And you'll see from the papers that effectively we are within a smidge of the, that's a technical accounting term, a smidge of the original budget that was set, and that although there is within the figures, we're slightly over. I think it's £56,000 over the budget. There is some value engineering. So there was some nice to haves put into the design by our officers and by everyone active. And we can certainly go within that budget, within the allowances that have been made for those. So I'm very confident that we are within the budget envelope that we've been set. And that includes some contingency funding within there. So we are, there is contingency built into the process. I'm happy to refer or to revert to section 151 officers in case they want to make any comments. But yeah, the paper is as stated to you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or points? Councillor Cushion, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first of all, I'd like to add my thanks to all the team who've done sterling work in order to get the project to where they are at the moment. Understand we should be breaking ground next month, and the development should take about 12 months to deliver. So hopefully we'll be prepared to get in the pool by Christmas of next year. I do, I'm afraid, have to raise one question, a concern, which was raised to me by Councillor Angela Glynn, who Officer Hems will probably know what I'm going to say, which is around the trap lane lease that the council has to sign with Fakenham Town Council. She's really frustrated at the time it's taken in order to get that done. I understand the first one she said was full of errors. I think somebody else took over. If I understand the story correctly, it took weeks before they saw the second one. They had a EGM prepared for their full council last Thursday, and they had to cancel that because the version that they were sent was actually not the finalised one, because it now has to go to the Football Foundation. They have no objection it to going to the Football Foundation, but that wasn't apparent in it. So I think I just two questions, if I may. Does the delay in signing that lease, will that jeopardise in any way the practice?
We might have an alarm then. Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
I'll come back to you on that.
Just give it a minute for everyone to turn up again. We're sort of mid-flow with a question from Councillor Cushing. Sorry.
What with your lies on?
Can you remember what you were saying?
Okay, thank you all, and apologies for the interruption to the meeting. Just a technical error within the building. Councillor Cushing, I don't know if you want to remind us of your two questions. Thank you.
Yes, I'll give you the benefit that Mr. Chairman is not a member of your group sitting around there waiting to trip the alarm when I was speaking. No, the questions I made, the points I was raised in general terms is concerns about the delay and actually for the town council be able to sign the trap lane lease. So just wanted assurance that the delays will not jeopardise the work being progressed. And also, do you have any idea when the town council will get a finalised lease that they can sign?
So on the first question, it depends on how long the town council take to reach a position where they're comfortable to sign the lease. So as you would expect with any document of this nature, there is a position where both parties have input. So we have provided them with a relatively standard lease agreement. It is quite complex at Trap Lane because effectively we have to surrender the former lease or the lease for the land we have at the moment and then have a new lease for the extended area. And there are a number of subleases within that because of the arrangements in terms of the leisure operator, etc. So I think it is slightly complicated, but I would say that in terms of the discussions that have been ongoing, the town council have sought to introduce a number of new clauses to the lease to fully protect themselves, which I think have taken some toing and froing to resolve. So I think it's slightly unfair to say that the delays are, due to, I understand the town council's frustration. I would share their frustration over the length of time it's taken to resolve. So in terms of the delays, yes, there have been. It's not actually the lease that is being discussed at the moment. It's the agreement to lease. And we need to make sure that the town council understand the position in terms of that agreement to lease rather than the final lease documents. In terms of delay, it's not having an impact at the moment because once this, if cabinet agree this recommendation, then there is a standstill period, but there will be a point in time when it will start to have an impact. But I think the town council are aware of that, and I hope they will work towards that timetable. So yes, it's not going to have an impact at the moment, but if it drags on for a long time with the town council not being willing to accept standard lease court clauses, then it might start to. There is a position you referred earlier to the Football Foundation. So obviously we are applying for Football Foundation funding, and so we need to make sure that the lease documents comply with their standard format and contain the things that they need to enable us to access the potential funding. So that is part of that is part of the next step of work. Will be to get the agreement on the agreement to lease with the town council, send it to the Football Foundation to make sure they're comfortable with that, and then the final lease can be signed. Sorry, just on your second question was?
One is you answer the first one, which will it delay the development of getting underway next week, and the second one is when are they likely to see the sort of the finalised version that they can hold a meeting and approve?
I suppose the answer to that is they've seen the final version about 3 or 4 times now, and then they are coming back with further changes that they want to see, and so there is a toing and froing. So when they see, they've seen the final agreement to lease. I think there is some position in terms of the end of last week where I think we feel that they've now had it. We'll have that discussion. I will contact the town council after this meeting and have a further conversation about how we can give them confidence in where we are.
As you appreciate, I'm the messenger as opposed to, I don't know the full details in terms of that. So I just said that I would just raise those concerns at a meeting. But
I share Councillor Angela Glynn's frustration in terms of the pace at which this is being resolved. And I don't think there is no fault. There is just a process where we need to get to a point of agreement between the two parties. We're obviously very used to issuing lease documents, etc. I think the town council are not so used to it. And also obviously all of their members are having to be in a position of agreement in order to move it forward. So understandably, it's taking a bit of time to resolve, but I hope that we will be able to get there very shortly.
So certainly the typical challenges you could expect that are peculiar to any bit of land, certainly development of this scale and type with the different stakeholders that are involved, but we're certainly grateful to the town council as such a key driver in ensuring this is progressed. I remember the first week I was leader of the council, we were having conversations about the district as a whole and what might be possible, and this came up as a potential project. And I said at the time, if ever there was an opportunity to secure swimming facilities at Fakenham, we should take it. And here we are on the cusp of spades being put in the ground. So it's huge achievement for those of you that have been involved to get us this far. So thank you all very much, and also thank you to our suppliers, our contractors, Emerging, who will take this project forward. So we have a recommendation there. Sorry, can I just check before I move forward? Are there any other questions? Okay. You've got off very lightly. In terms of the recommendation, it was to approve the award of the contract for the build phase of Vacant Leisure and Sports Hub project. Did you want to propose? Do you want me to propose? Yeah. No. Sorry. Yeah. Do you want to proceed? Yeah. Proposed by Councillor Withington, and I'll happily second that. Can I have a vote of all of those in favour, please? Brilliant. That is unanimous. I don't believe there's any reason to exclude the press and public from further discussion. We did have the private business in respect of that, but we've avoided straying into that area. That concludes this meeting, and thank you all for your attendance and